Get to Simon.
I just want to see if I'm gonna stop it. I just want to see if I can record because I can. All right, guys. So good night, good night, good night. Want to welcome all of you that are on tonight. Um, this is a first class, first or second class, and I see Ryan is on. All right, so persons are logging on. Um, Let me just say that it has been challenging. I know prior to class starting, that's why I try to reach out to as many persons as is possible to try to walk them through the uh, registration and logging in process because I do know it's a bit tedious for the first time. It's a bit tedious for the first time, and but once you do understand it, and once you do log on, then it's pretty much like um, it's a walk in the park. So so much shine to mentions as it relates. So basically, it was a reading. It is so that one there is a school of thought and Western medicine that traditional as our number of societies, their traditional medicines form, but when both of them into medicine, it's still by Chinese because and over 5,000 years of they have used modern science and themselves into practice in a lot of these alongside Western medicine. And so we want that traditional medicine as what they call quote unquote. I mean that these are some of the nations because another thing that society or that the big pharma would want to think is that traditional medicine where there is no access to Western medicine, right? But what we're seeing is that medicine still stands tall and is respected and practiced. And even feel that they are second class. It's not to feel that they are that is on par with what is out there in terms of healthcare. It is the only form of healthcare for some countries. Every single nation that boasts itself of a modern healthcare system, every one of these countries started out having only natural medicine as its own. And so the article based its countries and how, and these are some have still held on to their traditional medicine. And it begs the countries in the Caribbean, especially countries in the Caribbean, because that's what we have to talk about. Why do we frown upon the medicine that has been protecting us up until now? Why do we not respect? Because these countries that we're looking at are first world countries where they have the resources, qualities, whatever it takes, they would have had it abandon what they have and into Western medicine. Can't we within the nation as the medicine that they trust, the medicine as their primary source of healthcare. And I'm not one of those. It has contributed significantly. It is contributed, and I think it's a win-win really. It's a win-win because what happened is that in China, traditional medicine, what you have is a society where people are being trained to take their health into the primary medicine. And so by having a society that is health conscious, what we're going to see is a win-win. We're going to see educated so many persons being encouraged and allowed to take country with all the tools and with all the resources better, and we are able to better understand things about traditional medicines that our ancestors able to access. And I believe that what it does inherently is that as a people, it gives us a sense more respect for the environment. I really do believe that. And so was designed the use of traditional medicine in modern societies, in advanced societies, as well as that herbs and herbal pharmaceutical industry. Because as you would have seen, the pharmaceutical industry is raw material coming from plants. So that alone, and the power that plants hold. And what we're saying is that it's so much in their natural sources than sometimes where they have been. So very system has served, it's no longer relevant. This evening is really designed. I really want to open question that they want to ask. Anybody have any question that they want to ask? Anybody have any comment that they want to make based on the reading this week. I know that in one of the classes that we had, there were persons who didn't know, because the two most that is natural medicine. So that was, it was, when I look at, it has a unique blend that reflective of the reality, reflective of the Caribbean, because the Caribbean, by so many periods, by so many different nations, era, did not only matter. Caribbean is like a melting pot of different nations. Only affect us in our ethnicity. They affect us. We see how they have affected us. And don't realize is that they have also, right? We have medicines that the European brought, that the Spanish brought, very unique and unlike in Ayurvedic medicine. It is like Indian medicine. But when you look on the medicine that is practiced, is that it is a reflection occupied these territories at some point. It's like it was formed into one pot of soup. And what we have is a uniquely distinctive. We have not done is that we have not spent enough time to document, and we have not spent enough time to record, kind of like on a trial and error basis. And so that is one of the bigger side. We have some of the most powerful herbs and history of herbs in the world. And that is something that I believe it's time for us to own, and that is something for us to use to help ourselves. All right, assignment this week.
Good evening, everyone. It's Samantha, and the question that I really want to ask is about the word limit. Based on the number of based on the number of bullet points that you had there, I really find it difficult to stick to that word limit of I still exceeded the 450 words. So I'm wondering if there is a great penalty for exceeding that word limit.
No, it's not gonna be a great penalty. I know, and I saw some people that had to come in. I saw some people who really did a very good job in concisely representing their perspective and their points. But I do understand what you're saying. Yeah. The units, I'm coming back. I see your hand. The units were carefully designed because I know that the class comprises of different people from different backgrounds, and one of the skill set that I'm aiming at, that I'm trying to bring to harness, is the fact that for our medicine, for our form of medicine to reach anywhere where it becomes known, we are going to have more persons writing. We're going to have more persons being able to write articles about herbs and about our medicine for it to be known. One of the reasons why, if you go on the internet now and you type in certain herbs, or you type in certain health conditions, and you ask for certain herbs, what you're going to see overwhelmingly popping up is articles about the herbs from North America. Because there's a great number of articles of herbs out there. When you do find articles about herbs from Jamaica and the Caribbean, what you're going to find is that they are not written in a way that is, I won't use the word professional, but they're not written in a way that shows that much thought was given to writing the article, or it is not written in a way that suggests that it was written by somebody who was a professional. And so all of these contribute to the fact that persons who practice natural medicine are ignorant, they are not trained, they are not knowledgeable, and all of that affects the weight and the validity and the respect that we should get. So we will have a few of those articles, and then once we see that persons can write those articles, we do away with them. But there's a few of them because we really want to help sharpen persons' writing skills. So once we see those articles, we do try to reach out to persons to kind of help them in doing that. And I should say also that the lesson 1 from the previous class, there were some instructions in it that should not have been in it. One of the instructions was that it should have been posted in a group, because in the last class, in addition to submitting an article, as a matter of fact, the article wasn't submitted to the tutor. The article was submitted in a group setting, and it was graded by peers. So it was a peer graded work. And I'm sorry because I was an oversight on my part. I didn't see, I didn't realize that those instructions were there to remove them. I wanted to remove it because this class is bigger than the last one, and there are a number of persons who are not so technologically savvy. And I wanted to reduce the amount of instruction while at the same time allowing persons to have some activity. So sorry about that. So the instruction really was just to write the article and post it, which would have been very simple in comparison to writing the article, posting it in a group, and a number of instructions that would have come in. With the last class, I was able to reach everybody prior to starting the class. And so I was in a better position for everybody being able to understand how to use the platform. All right. All right, Dr. Arlene, your hand was up.
Yes. I just wanted to say that I actually read the article and wrote the assignment, but I forgot to click on mark as complete.
Okay.
Until just now, I saw it and I
But
clicked it.
You have until 11:59. All assignments are due 11:59 on a Sunday, and the new units open at 11:59. So, yeah, you have until 11. If you look on your dashboard, you will see it will tell you how much hours you have remaining to submit. So all assignments, and then by right, I know Howard. I don't see Howard. Howard had a warm time this week. That man must be a pastor. He's so patient and well mannered that he bore with me while I tried. Because what happened is that I think they have upgraded the platform, and I don't think everything is working as it should. So even though I did what I had to do, some persons were not being able to see the lessons and the units and the assignments and so on. And I think there may be one or two more persons. If there's more than that, then let me know so that I can straighten that out for you. All right. All right. Any comments? Anybody read the article, and was there any insight that you gathered from it? All right, you're welcome, Doc. Any insight? Yes, Benjamin, go ahead.
Good evening. I just joined you guys. First of all, I did get on to the articles and so on, but I was not really quite with the APA format, so I had to do some more research and everything. However, I did do the research. I had to do pen writing down, so today I was trying to figure out how to get it in, so I get some information. But most of the articles, I understand what it entitles. I did most of it. I did not all of it writing it down, so I just have to put in the format and type it out and get it and see somewhere on my phone so I could actually push it forward. But the articles was very, very good. From what I've gathered from it, it was very, very informative and so on with it. So I've learned a lot, but I have to submit my stuff. It's just a few more I had, but it was very, very tedious for me.
All right, wonderful. All right, thank you, Benjamin. Doctor, go ahead, Dr. Rose.
Yes, I'm sorry. How many articles were we to have written?
One.
Oh, okay. And it's just one article to have read, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. The article that I submitted, yeah, that was just one. So as I was saying before, in the last class, there were some more. So the instruction from the last class was not removed. So I do apologize for that, because the instruction was to post the article in a group setting, and then it was to have a peer. So it was a peer review. That was a peer review activity from the last group, and I didn't get a chance to remove the instruction. So I'm sorry about that. But you'll see some of that, but I can't do that now because there are some persons who are still having challenges, maneuvering themselves on the platform. So you know, I do apologize for that, you know. But as I said, that good night, Howard, man of faith.
All right.
Yes, man. So you finally were able to go on, all right?
Yes, on Saturday, but regrettably, I have not been able to read or do anything because it came
No,
at such a
I
late
have to
stage.
I have to grant you a whole week extension.
I understand.
Yeah, man, because
Right,
you it was difficult for you to go on. But as I said, that you know, in this particular unit, and the fun starts next week when you start unit 2. Because what I want to do is to instill in us a sense of pride, a sense of pride. I see you, Angela, I'm coming. A sense of pride, as it relates to, because we have to first see what we are doing as something that is not only beneficial but something that is premier. The system has caused, you know, natural medicine to be seen as something that is okay. All right. Okay, Ruth. All right. So you okay. So, yeah. So you know, the system has led us to believe that persons who even in some, I know of a friend. His name is Dr. White. He's from Mobile because I'm from Mobile, and I remember he was working at Cornwall Regional at the time. He was doing private practice, but when he decided that he wanted to use natural medicine as the base of his premises in practice, I'm telling you, he came on some heavy fire. That man back is broad. And that was because it was looked down upon as leaving the medical grandeur to become a bush doctor. And so that is the approach that society has for persons who practice natural medicine. And I'm telling you, and it's not a boast, but when I see, yeah, and even though, you know, when I see, when I see how simple plants help persons to heal, you know, it's just amazing, just amazing. Yes, Angela, go ahead.
Hello, sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good night, everyone. You actually were touching on, I'm sorry, Rohan, can you mute? Thank you. You actually were touching on what I was going to say, because reading the article, it was just very interesting and also empowering to see the percentages in other countries, right? Not in the West, but just how much traditional medicine is still relied on. And the fact, I can't remember, I think it was Korea, that even the insurance would pay for it. Like, that is a dream for me here in the US, because even now, insurance has become so expensive. So many people just don't have it right now.
Right.
And there's no real established traditional medicine system for them to go to if they wanted to get healthcare outside of the healthcare system. What you're saying is something I also experienced because I work in a medical system, and they all know how much I love like holistic health and nutrition for healing and that kind of thing. And so when I shared that I was doing this course now, you know, it's still a thing of, well, Western medicine is the cream of the crop. Why would you go backwards? You know, that's how they look at it, even though a lot of them are suffering from things that the medicines are not helping them with. And I'm talking about the doctors now,
Yeah.
right? People who are treating these patients. So I like having this background. I like the information. I'm definitely going to share some of what I learned. But one thing I've always realized is that Western medicine is much younger than Eastern medicine, than traditional medicine. And because it's so full of synthetics, you know, so many people don't want to do anything unless a regulatory agency has said, okay, this is good, right? Here's the FDA. But look how many times the FDA has said something is good and then turned around and had to take it back. You know, nothing, these agencies, even the ones that are overarching over all of this, they don't get it right. And they don't get it right a lot of times. So I just loved reading that. I love seeing 80% of Africans are still using traditional medicine, even if they use conventional medicine. Like I said, that some of the Asian cultures have incorporated the traditional medicine along with the Western and contemporary medicine. I think that's probably the best model going forward, that if we could have the best of both worlds. But I did enjoy reading the article and having some information to go back and give my colleagues so they can leave me alone.
Wonderful. And you know, I'm not one of those traditional practitioners who bash Western medicine, because as I said, some people ask me, and a lot of my clients will come and they'll have a negative approach and they'll bash it, and they're shocked when they don't see me embracing or encouraging them in bashing it, because it is a form of healthcare. It is a form of healthcare. It's just that it has its purpose. And I tell persons that basically it comprises of extraction and synthesizing. So what they do is it's based on studying plants. After you study a particular plant and you isolate and you identify an active ingredient that you want, you do two things. You either get a patent when you create a synthesis, which is an artificial version of that particular chemical, or you get a patent based on the process that was used to extract it. And so but nothing can be natural. And one of the things about that is that because nature doesn't have any mononutrients, that synthesis or that extracted component can have negative side effects. And when I say can have negative side effects, because plants are designed to perfectly formulate. A plant is literally a lab. The simplest plant that you see on the wayside can outcompete any multi-billion-dollar lab that is out there. And so it perfectly synergistically creates an end product that is beneficial. And so when a lab goes about synthesizing or extracting, what you're going to have is something that is very powerful. And so because it is powerful, it is not, I should not be intended for long-term use. So Western medicine is very good as what I call an emergency medicine. If you're gonna have an emergency, traditional medicine may not be the best medicine when you have an emergency. All right, so it is not the best medicine, because what happens is that it works slow. And because it works slow, depending on the stage that your disease is in, you may not benefit. So I tell persons, if you have a severely high blood pressure, if you have serious diabetes, or if you have serious chronic ailments or issues, it's best to go to the allopathic medicine. Use that to arrest the problem. And once you arrest the problem, then what you need to do now is to move so that's a short-term approach. And what you need to do is to move to now a long-term approach, which is natural medicine. So a lot of persons who eat themselves into sickness, or practice habits that get them really sick, and then they try, Western medicine doesn't work, and they say, okay, let me run to herbal medicine, and I'm looking for this to fix me. It doesn't work like that. And so some persons come with wrong motive. They come and after 1 month, 2 months, they don't get better, and I say, well, it didn't work. It has its place. So I'm not here to badmouth Western medicine. It is one of the best form of emergency medicine. And even while saying that, there are still things that that can be done even to make it better. So I'm not here to badmouth Western medicine. It has its place. And so that is why I'm saying that integrative medicine would be such a blessing, because you look at these societies in which they have an integrative approach. And what you see is, apart from the healthcare, what you see is the society on a whole being a society where most persons take control of their health. And I believe what has happened to Jamaica when we shift in the last 50 years or so, what we have done is that we have allowed allopathic medicine to totally, and I'm not talking about as a population, but the policymakers have allowed Western medicine to completely replace traditional medicine. And so because of that, what we are now seeing is, number one, we're having an overrun in the healthcare facility. 70% of the persons who turn up for emergency cases did not need to go to the emergency room, 70% of them. So the overcrowding, that overcrowding puts a burden on the healthcare system, and it puts a burden on those persons who are really sick. If our nation, and I'm saying that we live in a nation where we don't have the resources. So a better approach would have been to develop traditional medicine as a part of our healthcare system, a part of our primary healthcare system, empower more persons, formally structure and streamline Western medicine in such a way where so many information can be passed on, so many things can be taught to our population so that they can take care of themselves and then leave the emergencies for the hospitals. So that is where I believe we need to go. And as I said, one of the reasons why I'm doing this course is because I believe that in the next 10 years, the greatest challenge to not only Jamaica, but to any society, and especially vulnerable society like us, is going to be food and medicine. And so those persons who actually position themselves to be able to take care of themselves are going to be in high demand and are going to be in an advantageous position, because we have so much medicine around us that we have neglected in exchange for medicines that we can't make in Jamaica. None of those medicines that we distribute through our clinics and through our hospitals are made in Jamaica. And I don't know if we have the facilities to make them. So what happens, and we saw what happened recently when the pandemic hit, Jamaica is signatory to so many different policies. And not only Jamaica, but so many countries. And we saw that when the pandemic hit, the countries that were wealthy bought, they bought up what they considered to be the cure. And the poorer nations didn't have it. If this could have saved lives, all the poor nations would have experienced high death tolls, and the wealthy nations would have had more than enough surplus. And that we should learn from that, because it showed us that we are very vulnerable. Shows that we are very vulnerable. And so one of the things that I believe that we need to take away from that is being able to empower ourselves, to feed ourselves, and to take care of ourselves. You know, that's one of the lessons that I walk away from that. All right, anybody else have any questions or contributions based on the article that was the reading assignment?
Dr. Ben?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, really?
Who's that?
Miss Donna.
Oh, Ruth.
Yes.
Hey, Ruth.
I wasn't able to access your assignments. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, you were one of them. Okay. Were you able to log in?
No.
Did you get an email with the username and password?
I don't even know.
All right, I'll talk to you after class. I know Ruth, Kimani, I think 3 of you now. I think 4 persons, Otelia, 4 persons. So I'll meet with you after class and I will help you. I'll send it to you on WhatsApp because what happened is that it was sent to email, but I think for some persons it went to their spam. I know Ryan and Rowan actually got it because I sent it to their WhatsApp. So I think that is what happened. So I will send it to you and then give you an extension on that. All right?
Thank you.
There was a reading of
Thank you.
saw the page that Artemisian synthesis of plants phenomenal because I didn't know that so many drugs, so many powerful drugs, so many drugs that were used synthesis of herbs, you know. So and these are herbs. I think Artemisia grows here in Jamaica. It is sweet wormwood. It's grown here in Jamaica, and that is one of the herbs that has been touted to be very good against a wide variety of viruses, including the one that you know. All right, Benjamin.
Yes,
Go
Doctor.
ahead.
Hi, good evening again.
Evening.
What I gathered from when I was reading through with the different traditional medicine, what I've noticed, right, is that within the Chinese traditional Chinese medicine, is that they use the elements of theory consist of a lot of the natural elements like wood, fire, metal, water, and so on, right? And then when I read into African traditional medicine, I've noticed that our traditional medicine incorporate spirituality, herbalism, and a bunch of other stuff that combines together.
Yes.
Yeah, right. And it kind of surprised me because down here, it is a taboo that when we as herbalists, as traditional medicine men get into our traditional medicine, a lot of time people taboo us as being spiritual, and some people don't even want to get entangled with us because it's kind of activity when it comes to that. But from reading, going through the articles, I started to realize that our form of healing is a quite not so far different, but it is incorporated the
spiritual element.
Yeah, spirit, mind, and body. So, in a sense, it is a threefold. It heals the patient physically, mentally, and spiritually. So the herb of itself, because it's a living entity, the plant of itself, it helps to not just heal one illness in the body, but it's helped spiritually by the kind of energy that it put us within the body, and it helps the body. So what I've noticed also with it is that a lot of times when we do, somebody apply herbal treatment, it works well with the physical, spiritual, and mental. So bring a balance to the body together, let us say. Yeah, so a lot of practitioners here are very afraid to get into it because of the spiritual elements that entitled that it actually goes with it together. So I'm happy that you mentioned that you would be teaching a little part of the spiritual element that comes into it.
Oh yeah. We're definitely going to be going into what we call soon tell you. Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Rose.
Okay. So what he's saying is actually correct, because a lot of people, well, I can tell you for myself, I have looked for herbology courses before, but I don't want to go into the obia part, like if the thing where you're gonna use a herb to bring man, or I don't know, that kind of thing. There's that kind of stigma. So but I understand, like for instance, with leaf of life, you drop it on the ground, a piece of a leaf, and it becomes a whole plant again. So it has that characteristic where it is regenerative, So I just wanted to have an idea of the kind of extent of spiritualism that we'll be going into, because
All
there are
right.
some areas I don't necessarily want to go.
Yeah, man. We don't go into what we call, it's called herbal spiritism. Where basically herbs are essence, are spirit. And so when you study um the African aspect of herbology, then there is an element to it. And so you will find that Nani of the Maroons and the practitioners, even here in Jamaica right now, when you go to Maroon practitioners, they practice not medical herbalism, but they practice spiritual herbalism. And so that's a very important point. I don't practice spiritual herbalism, but I know persons who practice it. And as I said, it has its place in South Africa. In South Africa, spiritual herbalism is practiced so strongly that even medical doctors who practice herbalism practice spiritual herbalism. And spiritual herbalism is identified with objects that they will use to, to, to get information from the, as I said, the ancestors. So we don't practice that. I don't practice that. What I practice and what I teach is what I call energetic, herbal energetics. And herbal energetics is a science. Herbal energetics basically is using what I call certain attributes and tastes of the plant to know what the medicine is in the plant, basically. So there's about 12 medicine, I call them 12 medicinal tastes. And those 12 medicinal tastes also, is governed by certain energies, because, plants do function under certain frequencies. So I'm glad you made that point. So there is medical herbalism and there is spiritual herbalism. And as I say, I don't knock it, but I don't practice spiritual herbalism. What I practice is medical herbalism, where we use our ancestors. Our ancestors, even though they didn't have access to modern science, they used certain principles that even now modern science or science backs it up and is confirming it. So that's what we practice. But I have a student in another group that practices spiritual herbalism, and I know persons who practice spiritual herbalism, and they would even tell me that I am a priest of what do you call it? They say I'm a priest of owning or something like that, because under the African, especially the African practice, Orisha, they said that I'm actually a priest of Orisha because because of what I do. But again, every people group and society has a system of how they understand the knowledge. And so what they're going to do is operate with that system. Africa comes from predominantly a spiritual herbalism society. And so you find what they call Obia. You find Obia, which was outlawed. And we'll be going into that lesson, I think, next week or the week after next. We are going to go into that because, don't ever throw out the baby with the bathwater. Because when I started to study herbology and I started to look back on African herbalism, I realized that because of our Judo-Christian foundation, to a large extent, we have thrown out a lot that has been labeled ignorantly. We don't understand it, so we just throw it out. And that was how Obia became illegal in Jamaica, because like for example, I'll give you an idea. When Nanny was in the mountains, Nanny would know the herbs that she could use to beat the water with that had certain chemicals that would put the fish to sleep. It would turn the water red. According to them, it would turn the water to blood. And because of that, she was revered and feared. She knew what herbs to use to to do certain things. And I see a hand, Howard. I was in the Blue Mountain. My goodness, I was in the Blue Mountain for about six months, I think. And I'm telling you that I tell people all the time that they are different Jamaica. I have never been anywhere where I was so in touch, not only with nature, but it's difficult to describe it. I was in the Blue Mountain, and one of the things I can feel was that you literally feel the presence of you literally feel the presence of your ancestors. And so I could see how in that setting, spiritual herbalism can thrive, because there's actually a feeling that you get when you're up there, which is different from when you're up here. I don't know if it's because of the different interaction between the different radio waves and the different thing, but I can tell you that when you're up there, it's a different peaceful, tranquil feeling that you get. But I just want to make the point that I don't practice spiritual herbalism. I practice medical herbalism. Let me take Howard's hand and then Samantha. Go ahead, Howard.
Okay, thank you, Doc, for your attempt to clarify, because that is important, I'm sure, for some of us who need to understand exactly the direction of these classes. I noticed in your course listing under Unit 2, you have exploring the contributions of well-known herbalists from Jamaica. Unit 3, herbalism and its practice in Jamaica and the Caribbean. So what I want to be sure we are clarifying is that the approach that you are taking is more one that provides information from a historic perspective, as opposed to training in the use of herbs in the way that it was used by herbalists that use it for spiritual healing, so to speak. I'm very clear about a distinction between spirit and what happens in what you call the flesh or the natural. What is of the flesh is flesh, what is of the spirit is spirit. And so the spirit realm is a totally different realm. Sensations you spoke about earlier on about, connecting with ancestors and so on. One of the things I do know from my own reading is that African practice is tied up in what they call African spiritism, which is a mixture of some of the natural things in terms of natural use of herbs and spiritism itself, which is a demonic practice. So we have to be careful how we blend the two, and we have to be careful that we are distinguishing very carefully in terms of the direction of the course. So that is the clarification that I would certainly want, and I think that's where Dr. Rose was going in terms of a distinction, because if it is that you're sharing with us from historical, information, this is what happens, and from a scientific standpoint, this is how the herbs work. You give an example about how Nanny would beat the water with a certain herb, and chemically it changed the water into red. Now we can understand that and appreciate that as a scientific perspective. So if we're going like that, then it might be okay. But if we're going into mixing up spiritism and so on, then I would certainly
well, I don't know, but what I can say is that I have been, and you may also down the road be referred to as an Obia man, because I remember I have an office in St. Thomas, and I remember on numerous occasions, because of some of the results that people have and some of the reports that they make to persons. I do have, yes, because we do have a machine that we use. This is one of them. We do have a machine, I'm going to train it to you. We do have a machine that we use to do what is called assessment, and we will use the term, it reads you. So I have been given the past, I have been given the name Reader Man. And they say, man, the man good and good. They say, man, the man read you up. The man tell you everything, man. The man tell us, the man good, man. So I remember in the past, persons coming to me. One lady asked me if I can help her to get back her husband. One person called me from abroad, asked me if I can help her to get her papers to stay. So, you know, I have had experiences like those, but no, I don't practice nor do I teach spiritual herbalism. But in my readings, what I have done is that I have come to learn to better understand and respect. Because I'm of the Hebraic faith. And when I started to look at how they talk about ancestors, when I really began to look at it, I really realized that, you know, when you look at Jews and so on, you hear them talk a lot about Abraham, you hear them talk about their ancestors. There's a lot of emphasis on ancestors, and there's a lot of talk about you know, looking to the ancestors and respect for the ancestors, right? But certainly it has its place. But from looking at it, what I realized is that in the past we have thrown out the baby with the bathwater as it relates to looking at medicine being practiced by Africans, because a lot of times we don't understand it. And one of the things that we have also done is that we have allowed an outside entity to define. And what do I mean by that? We have allowed a belief system from outside to define an entity that they have very little knowledge about. And everything has some amount of truth to it. So all I'm saying is that when I've looked at it, I have left garnering some respect for some of the practices. Like anything else, it has given me, I believe, a more balanced view of African herbalism and spiritism versus how I approached it before, which was from a Christian perspective that didn't understand very much, you know, very much the African way of medicine and their way of life. So, you know, but
Hey,
in
Doc.
a nutshell, I'm just saying that we have to sometimes be open enough to learn and sometimes put us in a better position to make a judgment than sometimes just than just being able to just say, I don't want to be a part of it because it's coming from this labeled era, this labeled era, you know? All right, let me take.
Hey, Doc, can I chime in?
Yes, Aquarius. No, let me take Samantha because her hand was up, and then let me take Benjamin, and then I'll take your hand.
Okay.
So go ahead, Samantha.
I can't find my hand either.
Okay.
Whose hand is that?
Oh,
All right, go ahead, Samantha.
okay. You said most of what I wanted to say, so I'm just gonna add my little bit, right? But in my opinion, we tend to allow we tend to be afraid. We allow fear to prevent us from accessing our natural abilities, natural gifts as healers, and that's something that is really sad, especially among herbalists who really want to go in depth with healing. Now, I really believe that healing, there are three aspects to it, that it cannot be complete without the spiritual aspect. And I also believe that when people misinterpret the term spirituality, when we think of spirituality, we tend to go all the way and so on, and then we tend to start think about obia, and then like you, it's an outside force that is really interfering with our belief system. I really think that if we try to understand more the spiritual aspect of our existence and the spiritual aspect of every single thing that we do, because in everything there is a spiritual aspect to it. And so we need to be more open, and we need to not allow just a belief system, something that we were taught. Because if we were born in another culture, we would have a completely different outlook on what spirituality is. So it all has to do with our belief system, which we garnered from outside forces. So spirituality is simply just connecting with that divine force that you were introduced to, or that you have come to learn about, because there is no denial that there is a divine force, a divine spirit that is guiding us. There is no doubt that there is something more powerful than us. So if we connect to that through Christianity or through whatever religion, it will assist us in our daily lives and in our daily practice. And it also plays its role in our practice as healers, right? Because you have to tap into a divine force, just like when you are going to do a regular task, or you're going out for the day and you pray or you meditate and you ask for divine guidance. It is the same way you practice medicine. You're just seeking a spiritual guidance or a divine force to guide you through. And sometimes you will get answers in the form of visions or dreams or so on, or somebody just come to you, or something just come to you to say this is it, or so on. So it is just as simple as that. I think we put too much meaning into it based on what we have learned from outside forces, from about Africa and their practice. And because of that, we have gained this fear, and it is really pushing us away from that aspect. And until we learn to accept that and be more open, then we're always going to have a missing piece to the puzzle when it comes down to the business of healing.
Yeah, what I believe,
So that's
thank you so very much. You know, what I believe is that I don't think the concern is the spiritual. I think it's a source of the spirit, because you know there are different spirits out there, and you know, a person can get access to a spiritual force, and that spiritual force has ulterior motives. And I said, you know, there are different persons here from different spiritual and convictions and background. I can only talk about my persuasion, and you can only talk about yours. And you know, so for me, whatever I do is going to be reflective of my belief. I'm of the Hebraic faith, as I said, and so I have a commitment to practice what I consider to be Torah, what I consider to be kosher, and what I consider to be righteous. While I have an open mind, I have to ensure that whatever spirit I am connected to is a spirit that is coming from, and I because of what I do, I interact with so many different persons. I have a couple of persons from that practice oration, that practice different stuff. But I have to be true. And what I've seen is that there are certain fundamental truths that persons will now filter through their lens. And so the terms may be different, but the principle is just the same. And so you will hear, if you sit down and listen to persons who practice medicine from Buddhism to Hinduism to Islam to Christianity, they will use different terms, but in essence, the principles, the underlying girding principles of health will still be there. If you listen to it, it's pretty much the same. But with that being said, as I said, that I am knowledgeable of the fact that there are persons who help people. There are persons who help people, but as far as I'm concerned, their spiritual connection and source is not what I would consider to be Torah. It's not what I consider to be kosher. And so, because of that, you know, I'm very careful personally how I approach. And that has to be a decision that you make because you're going to interact with different persons and so on and so forth. But in a nutshell, as I said, that the herbs that we as a nation, I see your letter coming. As a nation, I believe that we, right now, herbology, a couple of years ago, everybody on this platform would have been considered to be doing something illegal because at one time, natural medicine was outlawed. You would have been guilty of practicing witchcraft, right? And so that is where we are coming from. So it doesn't matter your intention, doesn't matter who you help. At one point in time, it would have been considered to be witchcraft. And when we go into jurisprudence, I'll share with you. There's what is called the herbalist charter. There's a body of law that protects all herbalists all over the globe that was enacted, I think, by King Henry, that protects all practitioners under the realm, under his realm at the time, under the realm of England at the time. And up until now, that is still the charter that protects most persons who practice herbalism. Because especially in countries where it is not regulated, it was tabooed. It was looked upon as something. And when King Henry looked at it, he realized that apart from him benefiting at one point to lead him to enact the law, he said that it was the medicine of the poor. Plant medicine is the only medicine that poor people have access to. And so he enacted that law to protect those most vulnerable in Israel. All right, let me take Benjamin and then
Excuse me, Doc. I want to say something real quick. Can I say something real quick?
Yeah, man.
Just to this is Prince here. I just want
Prince,
I didn't want to say anything, but something came to mind. I just want, like, drop a balance, a certain level of balance to this all, because in everything there's balance and knowledge. There are no mysteries, only the absence of knowledge.
Right.
And in saying that, I want to say this: give thanks for modern, the modern, state of medicine, because through biochemistry, the human body, the mineral construct of the human body has been mapped, and a correlation or there is a direct connection with the mineral makeup of man and the mineral makeup of plants. So through that, healing becomes very, 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 very simple when you understand it from that standpoint. But there's another important point, because we can't hide, we can't be ostriches, we can't dig a hole, and because we fear things. Right. Knowledge is supreme. So there's this that I think I need to mention, and it's not what I fear, it's just to create a level of understanding. I have a friend who is very, 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 very good in herbal healing. I approach it from the the medical standpoint, in terms of mineral balance and mineral deficiencies and cleansing the body of the acidity and rebalancing it. But a situation occurred with him in which he healed someone, and that person had some kind of spiritual attachment to them that was causing the illness, and he picked up that on himself. In belly that gave him a warm time, and it was another person who deals with healing. She saw him and she was like, and that's in the States, he's Jamaican, some Spanish-speaking lady. She was like, "Papi, it's in your belly, Papi," and she told him what to do. So that's the other side of it. Mm-hmm. It's not all about being intellectual and trying to fit into this this westernized thinking, which if we are honest with ourselves, it's just basically mind control. Right. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anyone, but it's just bringing a level of cognizance that's necessary to create balance. That is not just one side. It's not a one-sided thing. It's not just a intellectual expression. It's a raw reality that exists. to understand that we're all spirits. Everything is spirit. You know what I'm saying? So whether we want to take it on that level or not, I understand people's concern, which that's valid, but it's good to realize that when it comes to healing, and every illness is just like in the Bible. When you're sick, then I think Christ said, go find a physician. You know where I come from? So that's the point when we really want to make say, even with herbal healing, when you're going to do it the standard, textbook, so-called medical, from a medical standpoint, you get all intellectual about it. There's still a spiritual component that's necessary. And when you understand that, like I know people who is just regular herbalists, and they were advised to take a bath every couple of days, and them not in a that, them just know about to boil bush and heal people, and they're very, very good at it. But then there's that other side of it where people come to them and it's not a natural illness. People come to them sick and them I tell them, just feel a vibe, yo, stay out there, so go wash off in the river. And them not knowing about spirituality, just a vibe. And they were advised after that yo, you need to get every couple of days, you need to wash yourself off because you're healing these people, and these people have spirits on them. And the spirits on them were the cause of the illness, and it was put on them by other people. You know what I'm saying? So that's another thing. I hope it drops a level of balance.
I don't think anybody's negating that. I see I'm just saying that for me.
I'm not going again. I'm just addressing the thing where people say, boy, they don't want to deal with this because it may mix up. I'm just drawing a level of balance to understand that it's not that is obia, is the reality of life, because from a very deeply spiritual, Christian base, the Bible tells us we're not fight against flesh and blood, a spiritual wickedness in the high places.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's just the balance in all of this. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So the balance is, the balance is, and as I said, that I'm very open-minded. I'm just stating that for me, and as I said, I interact with so many different persons, and there are persons who, because of sometimes what I do and with herbs, and this is sometimes people get results. They think that, and then there's also the component of normally when I start a clinic, we open prayer, and so people normally, because they see us opening with prayer and that type of thing, and then they see people with certain ailment, and so they get better. They attribute it to certain things. But I just say, well, I just make it clear that what I practice is medical herbalism, but I'm of the Hebraic faith, so I integrate everything that I do. For me, it's a ministry. So this is not just a profession. This is a ministry for me. It's a part of my ministry. So I'm just stating that they may see it that way, but I can only do and teach what I'm gifted to do, which is natural medicine in its truest form. So and with that being said, as I said, I do understand what is out there, but I can only speak about what I do and what I bring to the table, and so I can't go outside. I can't go outside of that. I can't go outside. I don't know anything outside that. I have to stay within the realm of what I'm called to do and what I'm naturally good at. So that's just the point that I make. I don't bash anybody. I just work within what I'm comfortable working in. All right. Let me take Aquarius and then Benjamin, and then we can maybe just move on and wrap up.
But Mr. Ben, I'd like to say something.
Who is that?
This is Miss Lawrence.
Ruth. Okay. I don't see her hand, Ruth. I don't
want to take... we can't find that, sir. Are you hearing me right now? I wanted to ask the gentleman, Mr. Clement. I think he might have the one who said something about spiritism being satanic. I wondered why he thought that.
Well, what I don't want is I don't want us to. Whereas I want to.
You see, what happened is I come from a point of logical reasoning.
Okay.
And so I'd like to find out why. Because you know what? Yes, please. Thank you.
Even though I don't think that's what he said.
All right,
heard
that
the question?
isn't exactly what I said, but it is something similar to that. My premise is simply this. The Spirit of God that we speak, I hear people talking about spiritual force. But the Spirit of God, which is the Holy Spirit is the entity, that part of the Godhead, that is the spirit with which we relate as a representative of the Godhead, that inspires all believers. Any other spirit other than the Holy Spirit is an unholy or demonic spirit. That's the premise from which I come, right? So if it is the Holy Spirit, he gives inspiration, can give inspiration to anybody that will seek him, and he will give that inspiration quite freely. But any other spirit other than the Holy Spirit, obviously, is an unholy or demonic spirit. So that's the premise.
All right. So,
Mr. Clements, I want to thank you for your interpretation. Thank you so much. I see where you're coming from.
All right, good. So as I said, that is something that we have to manage on our own if we're not careful, because we're all coming from the politics and religion are two something where we take you over. I see hands start go up like no. But as I said, the purpose of this unit, and I do appreciate the different feedback, but the purpose of the unit is really, the article is really to create an appreciation for one, the fact that traditional medicine is not archaic and irrelevant. That's one, because we are seeing modern societies, first world countries, sophisticated societies, practicing their form of traditional medicine along with Western medicine. That's one of the point I want to make. And number two, it is to show that plant medicine is still relevant up to the point where it still serves as much as 70% of the raw material for allopathic medicine. So if it is practiced in these first world countries, even alongside Western medicine, it shows that one, it is possible to practice it along them. They are not antagonistic towards each other. They can complement each other. Number two, plant medicine is still relevant because it is still the basic raw material for most of the Western medicine that is being used. And so that is, I'm using that to lay the platform for us coming into the field to not come with a mindset that I'm going into something that is alternative, something that is less important than, something that is not as good as, because that is important. We have to come with a mindset that, listen, I'm going into something that is even more important than, because the medicine that you're going into, it is a medicine that was formulated in a lab that has intelligence. A plant is an intelligent lab in comparison to a lab made by man that is subjective to so many faults and errors and miscalculations and malfunction and side effects. It's the reason why we have side effects. So it is for us, it is to help build that sense of pride in us that we are learning to interact and to communicate with a system that is thousands of years old. Because in essence, that's what happened. When you learn plant medicine, you are learning to communicate with plants. You're learning to interact with plants. You're learning to interact and understand the language of one of the oldest technology in the earth. And so it is something that we want to build a sense, a level of pride. And so that once we begin to practice, once we begin to go into it, I'm telling you, it is so wide. There's I'm bored easily, and I cannot be bored with plant medicine. There is so many facets to it. There is so many dimensions to it. I mean, it's unfathomable. So, and I call it inspired medicine. It is the only medicine that I believe, it is the only medicine that I believe that allows you to have space to connect with the supernatural. So there's inspired medicine, because it flows through you based on how the Most High ministers to you, right? And so it's a very powerful form of medicine because it also connects you with the Creator. And so I tell persons that, you know, I don't heal anybody. Basically, I just show persons what to use so that the body can heal itself. So the more you learn about plant medicines, is the more it actually humbles you, because you're going to be seeing how vast and how wide nature is, and to what extent, you know, there's so much wisdom that is in the plant for us to learn. So much wisdom in the plant, because I tell you, plants, it has immune intelligence. It adapts, it changes, it evolves. No herb, the fact that you used some herbs last week and got some more herbs to make the same formula, it's not the same. No herbs is exactly the same. The soil composition, the climate, everything goes into the end product of what that herb is. And so it's a very unique field. Let me take Aquavius hand. Aquavius?
Yeah, what's up, brother?
Come on, what's up?
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in. I was trying to chime in a little earlier, you know, for the subject got dragged on. But you know, man, I'm out here in the States, man, and you know, Black people in America, we've been conditioned so badly to the point where we really don't know where our true origins are or our history is. You know, over here they teach us our history started with slavery, then we went through, you know, Jim Crow and civil rights, and now we at where we at now. So I had a passion for digging into history, and I looked up African spirituality, and I've been studying it now for 11 years, and I got a group that I teach too. And I just wanted to chime in on it because African spirituality has a big misunderstanding due to colonialism. And I want a lot of Black people to understand that a lot of information that we getting from it now, even a lot of Africans that still practice it, they're practicing it from the interpretations of European mindset. So when we go back, you know, dig back further enough, you see that it really was a complex science. It wasn't all this what people think. It wasn't they weren't worshiping a bunch of different gods. They were actually, these different gods represented aspects of you and aspects of nature. And they were really metaphors. And you know, it wasn't meant to be taken literal. It was meant to be taken in many different ways, to interpret it many different ways. But I say all that to say, because it was a complex science and people pay attention to it and not misinterpret it, you'll realize that it's an actual modern day science that supports it, which is quantum mechanics and quantum physics. And you know, food has a frequency and we have a frequency and herbs have frequencies. And all of this does go with you know, healing. You know, the higher your frequency are, the better you feel, the better health you're in. The lower your frequency, the worse, you know, the worse your health conditions get. And so I just wanted to say that because I think a lot of people got it twisted because they don't realize their information about ancient Africa is coming from Greeks and Romans.
All right.
But I just wanted to say that.
All right, thank you very much, Aquavius, for that contribution. All right, I'm gonna take Benjamin, then I'm gonna have to take off because it's now 8 o'clock and I've gone over into the next class. I see 1 and 2 persons on the next class coming in. So let me just take Benjamin's hand and then Rowan hand quickly, and then as I said, let me just say this before. These sessions are not designed to present so much teaching information. They're really designed to review the content of the week before and to give clarifications on anything that was presented. So that's basically what these live sessions are for, all right? So they're to take questions. Sometimes the questions don't have to be necessarily related to the topic, but I prefer if they were related to the topic. But it's really designed to just kind of review and see if everything that was read or assignment to clear up any misunderstanding or give any more information that was needed. All right, Benjamin, go ahead.
Hey, thank you. I just want to say the different contribution tonight in terms of people relating to the different understanding with the science of plants and medicine that goes into it. You know, many of us come from different background in terms of religious perspective. But for me, as a herbalist, and I'm not a Christian, you know, but I am open, very much open-minded. I'm much based into our African tradition, and as an African person that into herbalism, my understanding, our heart, our science, because herbs for us is much more holistic, right? So it's a science that is vastly yet to explore, and there's so much that goes into it. In the sense of healing, we have to understand that plants very much is a life, and we being carbonated beings, our molecular structure is structured in such a way that we relate to plant. So likewise, when our vibration, if you operate on a lower frequency, right? And as a practitioner, you operate on a lower frequency, and then you would attend to herbs and attend to patient. It would not bring that holistic healing to that person. So one would have to be in a state of higher consciousness. Whatever you have to be in a state of higher consciousness, because if one frequency is very low, the minute you attend to those herbs and you started to patient, administer treatment to the patient, you're transferring low energy to the person, and the person will now practically receive that healing, right? So it goes a lot. We have to know ourselves as healers and practitioners. We have to know who we are. By understanding ourselves and our purpose, we're able to administer. So from my point of view, one has to be spiritual. Whatever medium that you channel your spirituality and your healing through, one has to be in the divine connection with nature of itself, whether it's masculine or feminine energy one that operate on. We have to be as, because our sense of, because when, let's say for example, we trace our historical background within our ancestry, you would find that most of us on this platform here come from a lineage of herbalists, healers, traditional healers, whether it's 100 years ago, 200 years ago, whatever it is. And our ancestors at some point of it, they were spiritual, right? So guys, operate in that sense, because remember, we're on a platform that we have people on different perspectives. So I'm happy that everybody see things in that way, and we were able to grow, or whatever path you choose to operate under. Remember, we are all spiritual beings, and plants are spiritual elements too. So whatever form it is, be guided by the spirit that operates under you, and go. Because for me, personally, I use herbs physically, mentally, spiritually. In my herbal practice, I do a lot of herbal baths. And my herbal baths help to stimulate the body. So one mind has to be, sometimes you will attend to a patient, and a patient will have domestic problem or spiritual problem. But the plants, the properties within the plants would help in my healing, help to soothe the person, calm the nerves of the person. So the plants, as I said before, works physically, mentally, and spiritually. So it cleanses the external part of the body by calming the nerves and so on, and removing a lot of time bad aura from the body, and introduce other stuff so you're able to operate free. And when it induces it liquidly, it helps to cleanse the inside of the body, right? So guys, I'm here to learn, and it's an exciting journey. So let's move on. Thank you very much, Dr. Ben, and everyone.
Thank you very much, Benjamin. As I said that, you know. Yeah, Rowan, go ahead quickly.
Yes, pleasant good night to everyone. I'm just gonna expand on what Benjamin just said, and Dr. Erlach has said before. For my personal experience in herbs and in spiritualism, I am a Christian person, and there was once a person that was sick. My brother and I and an ex-lady went to the person. He could not use his hand. He went to a whole lot of doctors, and when they come to the details of everything, they say it is not physical because they try everything that they could. My brother and I wasn't using herb at that time, but we went under the spirit and the power of the Almighty. And we went there, we pray and fast for about 3 days. And when we went there, my brother and I and the next lady, and we started to sing for the person. And when we sing and we pray and we bring a bottle of olive oil, and when we anoint that person in the spirit and the power of the Almighty, and when that person received that anointing and the prayer that he wanted, the relief of the stronghold that was on his hand, because he's saying that it is not a medical problem. So we went there according to God's spirit and we prayed for him, and he went to church and testified that from we went there that time, anoint him, pray for him, he received that healing. He could have used his, and up till now he go to church and testify that the stronghold and whatever spirit was upon his hand release, and he can use his hand right now. He is a builder, so he can use his hand and he's free from that stronghold that was over his life thus far. So I believe that the spiritual aspect in healing with the herbs, it can do a lot.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. You know, as I said that these things, you know, certain ailments are of a spiritual origin, some are of a physical origin, and as I said, some are gifted in the natural, some are gifted in the spiritual. We all have our place, and all we have to do is, you know, just make ourselves available. All right, I want to thank you guys. As I said, if there's anybody that is having challenges accessing the lessons, please reach out to me. Thanks everyone for being on, but right now it's now 8 o'clock, so I've gone over on the other class and I see a couple of them in the room now. So I'm gonna close off this section, and then I'm gonna ask the guys from your group, you know which group you are, 8 o'clock group, just to jump back on as soon as I close this meeting out. Again, our classes, our week run from Sunday 11:59 to Sunday 11:59. For those persons who have not completed their assignments, you have until 11:59. For some persons who have not gained access for whatever reasons, I'll grant some extensions, and we usually do grant extensions in this early part of the program because we know that some persons may have challenges using the platform or other technical issues. So we will grant those extensions. But I want to thank those who made the effort to meet the schedule and have submitted. And I see some of those submissions. All right. So again, thank you guys for being on. The new lesson will be open at 11:59 tonight, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. Remember that the meetings are recorded. They'll be posted on our YouTube channel. Of course, they will be private, and the link will be posted in the group. I'm going to ask us just to respect the privacy of the group and just allow the link to stay within the group. So as soon as I upload the video, I'll post the link to the group. But these lessons, these videos can only be seen from persons who use the link. So it will not go public. All right. So thank you again, and see you guys next week.
Shalom.
Shalom.